A few things to catch up on the US election. First, the tax story that everyone's going nuts over. The New York Times says Donald Trump has paid very little tax over the past decade or so, that he's paid tens of millions of dollars in years gone by, that in most of the past decade he's paid virtually nothing, and that while they claim no illegality, he's paid up to $400 million less in tax than someone of his wealth might have expected to pay over those decades. Which is a new twist, really, given many of his enemies have been saying that his business success is actually exaggerated and he's not really a billionaire. Now they're saying he actually is loaded and should have paid all this tax. Now, no doubt we're going to hear more on this issue in days and weeks to come, especially if there are any allegations of illegality. But surely that is the key. But let's move on to some other issues. And you know how the Democrats and the media are banging on about Donald Trump refusing to guarantee a peaceful transfer of power, pretending he's threatening a coup or something. They don't want to discuss the real issues, the legal points that are clouding this campaign and could create controversy after the result. And it's kind of amusing, all of this, because we've discussed endlessly before, the Democrats, of how they've never accepted Donald Trump's victory in 2016, never accepted Trump's legitimacy. And they've tried desperately to undermine it through running the Russia collusion scam and other fake news scandals, pushing not one but two impeachment efforts, starting and joining what they call the resistance and blaming the US electoral system as well. Anyway, now they want promises that people won't question electoral results. And Trump's real concern is the prevalence of mail-in ballots being pushed by some states in this election. Previously, voters have usually had to request postal votes, much the same that we can in this country, and there are checks in place to confirm identity and prevent misuse. This year, because of the pandemic, some states are just sending ballot papers to everyone so they can mail them in. Trump argues, with real episodes and common sense on his side, that this creates a massive risk of electoral fraud. Now, the news organisation Project Veritas has produced some undercover reporting of alleged voter fraud occurring this year in Minneapolis, with workers targeting particular communities to either fill ballots in for people, buy them, or promise to take care of them. Have a look.
2 in the morning, still hustling.
Omar Jamal secretly recorded conversations with the players involved in the voter fraud scheme to expose the criminal behavior he says is victimizing his own community and the integrity of the election process.
Liban didn't get it in a unique way. He just get them the way that everybody before him, or maybe even after him, will do, which is go to the elders, probably maybe pay them and collect, help, to their men. He's helping them.
At the end of this street,
yes,
there's 3 towers called One Towers.
Okay.
And it's all seniors, and they took every ballot.
Every ballot. They just take them from them.
Every single ballot. They knock on the door and say, your ballots, come give it to me, give it to me.
They don't even pay them for it. They just take it.
No. And the ones that didn't vote on ballots, the young people and the women and stuff, they were paying cash. They were getting bags of money the last 1 week here to drive people. And when you vote and they mark you off, then you get in the van, they give you a cash.
This stuff is dynamite. We'll await what further reporting and investigations produce. It's too late to prevent what's going on now, of course, but it would be a very unwise politician indeed who promised right now to accept any particular electoral result without reference to possible investigations or legal action. Remember, it required the Supreme Court to decide the presidential election between Al Gore and George W. Bush just 20 years ago. Now, the other controversy we need to keep an eye on is the Supreme Court. As expected, the president announced his nominee to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the weekend. As promised, he named a woman, Amy Coney Barrett, a Catholic with 7 children, 2 of whom were adopted from Haiti.
Law and order is the foundation of the American system of justice. No matter the issue, no matter the case before her, I am supremely confident that Judge Barrett will issue rulings based solely upon a fair reading of the law. She will defend the sacred principle of equal justice for citizens of every race, color, religion, and creed.
There's the President's introduction to Amy Barrett on the weekend. She's going to be a black-letter lawyer. She served as an associate to the late Conservative Supreme Court Justice Scalia, and she shares his philosophy.
A judge must apply the law as written. Judges are not policymakers, and they must be resolute in setting aside any policy views they might hold. I have no illusions that the road ahead of me will be easy, either for the short term or the long haul. I never imagined that I would find myself in this position. But now that I am, I assure you that I will meet the challenge with both humility and courage. Members of the United States Senate, I look forward to working with you during the confirmation process, and I will do my very best to demonstrate that I am worthy of your support.
But how do you reckon the Democrats would respond to her conservatism and her Catholicism? Well, here's how a Democrat senator summed her up a few years ago during her confirmation hearings into an appointment to the Federal Appeals Court.
When you read your speeches, the conclusion one draws is that the dogma lives loudly within you. And that's of concern.
And let's look at how the so-called tolerant entertainment crowd deal with it, the woke crowd.
The pick is going to be this Amy Comey. We'll all be saying this name a lot, I'm sure, because she's a f***ing nut. Amy Comey Barrett, Catholic, really Catholic. I mean really, really Catholic, like speaking in tongues.
Just imagine if these people spoke like this about other people of faith. Imagine if these people suggested someone should not be appointed to the Supreme Court because they're atheist or Buddhist or Muslim. It just would not happen. You know that. As it should not. It makes you also wonder what these Democrats, their supporters and the whole woke crowd are saying about electing another Catholic president, you know, just like JFK.
My question is, what is your faith, and how would you use your faith in making decisions for our nation?
You know, Reverend, I'm not proselytizing. I happen to be a practicing Catholic. But I went back to the church because I found, particularly, the black church. In this case, with an AME, it was not an Episcopal church. I found that there's that famous phrase from Kierkegaard, faith sees best in the dark. I find the one thing it gives me, and I'm not trying to proselytize, I'm not trying to convince you to share my religious views. But for me, it's important because it gives me some reason to have hope and purpose.
Yep, deify JFK, vote for practicing Catholic Joe Biden, cheer the Pope when he speaks about climate change or social justice, but reject Amy Coney Barrett because she's a Catholic. With these hateful leftists, it's never about principle, is it? It's always about side.